England's national team was robbed. England was robbed at the World Cup. The match boots of several stars like Harry, Hurricane and Bellingham were stolen from a van. They also took the balls, leaving only one. Ha! Incredible. The coaching staff is working against the clock to replace all the equipment since they trained today, Saturday, and their first session, well, is in Kansas City. Watch out. All of this is happening in the city of Kansas City, where this also happened a few days ago. 9 people were injured after a, bang, near the England team's training camp in Kansas City. This happened a few days ago. And well, it turns out that today, the madness continues. Now a robbery. Listen guys, it's very important that people know who the mayor is in Kansas City. It's this man, Quentin Lucas, who is obviously from the Democratic Party. He is the mayor of this place. Kansas City is the city where the England national team is. And I don't know, I think it was a very bad decision. In fact, I'm surprised that this happened in the United States before it did in Mexico. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Obviously, the United States isn't the safest place in the world, but for this to have happened there before in Mexico is surprising. Wow, this is incredible. In fact, I'm also surprised that it happened in Kansas City before, I don't know, in California or in Toronto, because even if you don't believe it, Canada is in a really bad state. The thing is that nobody cares about Canada, and it's hardly ever talked about. But the situation in Canada is also quite unfortunate. But anyway, it happened here. Let's take a look at a summary. And be careful, really careful, because this hasn't been the only thing that's happened. Hold on tight because the craziness is coming.
God, what else must England endure? Now even their cleats are stolen. Let's see. A week ago, well yes, something terrible happened at the field where they're holding their training camp. Something that happens in every school in the United States. You'll understand. 4 days ago, there was an earthquake, and now BBC Sports reports that the England team has been robbed. That's right, the England team and their van were robbed, and none of the players have their luggage. That is to say, they won't have boots, they won't have cleats, they won't have cleats. England's stay in the United States is completely ridiculous. They're getting payback for the Mayflower. I mean, they got robbed, they stole the cleats.
What else does England have to go through? Well, everything has already happened to them. And not just in the United States, but also in Mexico. Please pay attention. Members of Igualdad Animal Mexico are protesting outside the hotel where the South Korean national team is staying to demand that the Marriott chain fulfill a commitment made in 2018 to eliminate eggs from caged hens from their supply chain. This isn't a joke, guys. Seriously, they actually went to disrupt South Korea's concentration so they would remove eggs from caged hens. Blah 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 blah. Unbelievable. Imagine the poor South Korean team having to listen to this commotion. And they did this the night before the match against the Czech Republic. By the way, just so you know, things didn't go so well for the Czech Republic either, to be honest. So please pay attention. The Czech Republic team's bus got stuck at the entrance to the training complex in Zapopan, causing traffic problems for almost an hour. Because of the blockage, the players had to get off the bus and walk several meters to reach their training session. Just imagine that. The Czech Republic players had to get off and walk to the training field. It's complete madness, guys. This happened, but things like this, the media, they just keep quiet. Look, the Czech Republic bus. Just look at that. Yeah, you see, this is Guadalajara in Mexico. Zapopan, Jalisco. Look at this traffic chaos. Incredible. And that's where the Czech Republic bus got stuck. Look, you can see it at the end. That's the bus. Incredible. Now it's very important to clarify that the country is now called Czechia. That's its name, not Czech Republic. But it's unbelievable how it seems like everything goes wrong here. Okay, there are good things. For example, I think that even though many people say that the opening event of the World Cup between Mexico and South Africa was boring, I still think that the Azteca Stadium and the atmosphere showed a real World Cup aura. I think the World Cup vibe was absolutely there, and there have been some really good matches. Yes, the Mexico-South Africa match was unbearable, but for example, the match between South Korea and Czechia was pretty good. The United States-Paraguay match was incredible. The US team was flying. It reminded me of Russia in 2018, who were also flying. Interesting, isn't it? A bit suspicious. But anyway, the point is that there have been good moments in this World Cup. However, these things are incredible. At least to me, they remind me, I don't know about you, of the scandals in Paris 2024. And for those who don't remember, please take a look at this. Mascherano reports a theft from a football player during training at the Olympic Games in Paris. I mean Angola. No, Paris. Sometimes you get confused, right? He also reports the incidents during the match against Morocco when several fans jumped onto the field and the match was stopped. Total chaos. But this happened, the Argentine national team traveled to France and they were robbed. They robbed the Argentine national team in France. Any Latino who doesn't know any better must think you're Latino. How can you get robbed in France? You're not in danger, you are the danger. That's how Latinos think, right? When they're in Europe, but they don't know that in France there aren't as many French people as there used to be. Yes, supposedly they have the passport, the French passport. But anyway, let me ask you, do you think Mbappé is French by blood? We all know the answer, but let's hear what others say. Here they say that among the items stolen from England are boots belonging to the players themselves, official balls from the competition, and sports equipment they use daily in training. All of this has happened, interestingly, just a few days before their match against Croatia in their World Cup debut. Yes, their first game is against Croatia. A tough match. This has forced the coaching staff and logistics managers to reorganize all the preparations for the coming hours. What's happening with England is crazy. There have been more off-field scandals, many of them not even directly related to England, and this can obviously cause you to lose focus. But anyway, here they tell us that after the incident, the local authorities have already taken action to try to recover the stolen material. Hopefully, and hand it over to them, as arranged in English, so they can finalize their preparation for the important World Cup event. Their debut will take place this coming Wednesday, June 17th, starting at 10 p.m. Honestly, I think the most convenient thing is for them to send things again from the United Kingdom. I think that's the easiest, the most convenient thing. I think that's simplest. Rather than trying to recover stolen items from unknown thieves, it's better for them to send the things from the United Kingdom. Express flight point fast. We'll see if they manage to do it, we'll see if they succeed. Obviously they have to put it on a plane, not one of those, but one of those from DHL or FedEx. But anyway, this World Cup is just getting started and it keeps surprising us. So, gentlemen, see you next time.